Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter Duel video. So, in this video, people probably say I've done this before, but I actually haven't. We're going to talk about things that I would like to see them implement in the game that I feel would probably give us a better experience. Now, I'm not talking about quality of life, I'm not even complaining about things that we already have in the game. This is literally things that I think they could simply add to the game or change about the game to make it better, to put it quite bluntly. And one of these things I think most people will 100% agree with. That sounds good, I would like to have that. There's another one that maybe, depending on you as a player, you might agree with, you might not, because it's going to be a bit controversial, but I honestly think it's something that needs to happen, and that's me just being honest, right? So, first up, the one thing that's a bit of a no-brainer, sparring, right? When it comes to sparring, they should add custom matchmaking, okay? Now, people have talked about the ability to normalise your level. I'm actually talking about go a little bit beyond that, okay? And actually introduce custom matchmaking. Now, what do I mean by custom matchmaking? If you decide that you want to fight someone, you can implement rule sets, whether that be no flame units, no inferno units, no master units, whatever. If you want to set it so that you've got the same levels, that's fine. If you think you are an absolute boss and you're willing to give someone a level handicap where they're a little bit stronger than you, you can do that as well. Custom matchmaking, I think, would be a good idea because it would open up a few possibilities for things like community engagement. Obviously, we've got YouTubers, Twitch streamers, we've got Discord channels, and if you had custom matchmaking where you could make rule sets, it would mean places like that would be able to do community events, particularly the official Discord, because they are obviously authorised to give out prizes and stuff if they so wish. They would be able to put together events where, okay, we're doing an event, you can meet up at X number of time, you could have a table of progression where people are matching against each other in a tournament style, and they've introduced a rule set which could be no flame units, no master units, no Vega, no Bison, stuff like that. Custom matchmaking would allow you to do that. It would also, just on a basic level, allow you to set the same type of level as the person you're fighting. So regardless if you're weaker or stronger than that person, you would be able to actually put out units and see how they perform, because currently you can't really do that at all through matchmaking via spar unless you're already similarly ranked to that person. And realistically, the only testing ground you then have would be something like HWA, which isn't always available, okay? It's not always available. So you have to wait for those things to come around. This would alleviate that, and it would allow you to basically set your own rule set and test things as much as you want to your heart's content. Now, for this one, it relates to here. I'm not going to hark on about the whole coming soon thing anymore, because people know we want to have something. Instead, I'm going to suggest something that I think would be quite beneficial that they could put into here. Again, I'd love your feedback on this, if you think this would be a good thing to add to the game, if it would be a good idea. I've kind of been sitting on this one a little bit ever since they launched the Turtles, and the reason why the Turtles were the thing that kind of sparked my thinking along this line is the Turtles are a little bit unique in the sense that they have passives that kind of work differently from other people within the game, okay? So if we go and we look here, any turtle will do. If you look, they have this kind of thing here, if you have another turtle. So they've got that little wrinkle to their kit where they kind of have what I would kind of call a secondary passive, okay? They've got a standard passive if they're in a normal team, but if they are in a team with the Turtles, their passive does something a little bit extra, okay? The same thing applies to their assists. If we were to look at their assists, you'll see they've got their standard assist, and they've got a different thing that they do when they are assisting another turtle, right? So basically they perform better when they are sitting on another turtle. So this kind of different type of passive, I'm going to refer to it as a secondary passive. They've kind of already got the foundation within the game to do that. So what I was thinking that they could implement, and I think this would be quite interesting and it would be good for existing players and new players alike, is in this coming soon section, they could bring out what I'm going to call right now character trials, right? Now, let me explain really quickly my vision for this. I'll use the gallery for this, okay? So if we go to the gallery, right, you would go into your character trials and you would have something to the effect of this, okay? Any characters you own would be lit up, and any characters that you don't own would be greyed out, okay? Because you don't have the unit, okay? And for any unit that you have, you would be able to go in and do character trials, okay? Now this would be maybe 10, 15, 20, I think 20 would be a good number of challenges, okay? Some of those challenges, I think it would make sense if they were passive challenges. Things simply like use this character X number of times, put this character on a team that does X amount of damage, but within that also have a few set challenges. So maybe some custom bosses, maybe not custom bosses, but actual bosses where you have to build a team, including this unit, and if you clear it, that would tick off that challenge. Each of these challenges, let's say there's 20, would give you a minimum or a minimal amount of rewards, maybe diamonds, maybe some resources, whatever, but the main aim would be, once you've got all 20, it would unlock a secondary passive for that character. Prime example of that is, let's just use someone like Vega, right? Base Vega, not new Vega, base Vega. Instead of just having this, he would have a little wrinkle that would come on at the bottom for unlocking it in the character trial. Something along the lines of, when facing female fighters, does 100% additional damage. And that's kind of more in reference to him fighting Chun-Li and the whole anime thing. But by doing the character trial, you would unlock that, or the character missions, challenge, whatever we're going to call it, you would unlock this secondary passive. And they could do that for every single character in the game, which would give us a decent amount of content, right? And along with that, they could also use that function, if they were to go ahead and do it, to allow people to take these characters at the bottom, these B rank characters, and they could implement the system that China had, where you're able to rank these characters from the B ranks that they are to A ranks, which would allow you to take them all the way up to triple S rank. Now I believe in China it was only Ryu and Ken that they had it available for. Obviously, if you've got the function to do it, they could roll that out for every character in the game. So it would be a gameplay mode. You could go in, like I say, for each character, you would have these 20 missions, work towards them, get some rewards along the way. For already premium characters, i.e. your natural A ranks, you would get that secondary passive. For your B rank units, it would be the thing that would allow you to awaken them to make them triple S rank. So instead of just having that sitting there being a coming soon, this would, in my opinion anyway, be a nice solid addition, and it would give us, honestly, quite a beefy amount of content to do. Because if you think about it, if you've got all your existing characters that you could work on this with, and then in future all new characters that would go into this section, you would have quite a lot of resources you could earn, content you could play, and things you could get stuck into basically, which to me would make for a more engaging experience, okay? Now, the point I'm going to make after this one might maybe be a little bit more controversial for some people, so I'm going to leave that till the end, because if you're going to hate on me for anything, may as well be that last one, okay? This one, to me, feels like a bit of a no-brainer. I kind of think we've spoke about this one before, and for that reason, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but I do feel like they should add, whether it's a rollback function, whether it's an item that allows you to roll back, whatever, a way for people to remove their soul power investment, not their soul power investment, their fighting spirit investment from units, okay? Because there's a lot of reasons why you might do that. You could have literally leveled up to fighting spirit 30, a unit who, once they hit 30, you kind of gimp them a little bit and they're not as good as they once were. You've got a lot of older units that are just sitting there you're never going to do anything with. If they introduced a limited currency, so you can't do it all the time, if they introduced a limited currency where you could roll this back, it would honestly give quite a boon to people being able to try out new units and use new units, because obviously fighting spirit is quite a hefty investment. It can be quite difficult to get the materials to do so, but if you were able to use, like, again, a limited currency, not currency but item, maybe you can only get it from rewards once a month, once a quarter, whatever, make it fairly rare, and people would be able to roll back their investment. Or if people wanted to pay, if they wanted to introduce it this way, you could roll back at a cost of diamonds, but you would only get half of your investment back. Now obviously that would not be quite as advantageous as something like an item, but they would have to do something to basically stop people using it like gear. Right now people hot swap gear. If you could just roll back your investment unlimited times without a penalty, people would just not level Fighting Spirit and they would just hot swap it as and when they needed to. So they would need to put in something, whether it be, like I say, an item that's not as readily available, or essentially you lose half the resources. But again, it would be better than not really having the option to do that right now. Means that you've got an opportunity to back out of any potential mistakes you've made. And again, it means you're able to take a lot of units who maybe now just sit on your bench doing nothing, that you know you're never going to use again. They're just really not cutting it anymore in today's game. Well, if you've done this, you could get that back. And again, it's just going to make things a little bit more, I guess, healthy is maybe the wrong word, but a lot more, I think fair's even the wrong word. A lot nicer, we'll say nicer, a lot nicer for the player base, because it will allow them to, as I said, maybe experiment more, maybe put investment into a unit who they kind of want to invest in, but they know they've got the priority of doing this unit, doing that unit, doing that unit, and it keeps piling on, and you never really get around to doing the units that might actually benefit them in one way or another. So being able to kind of roll that back on units who, again, maybe if they've had their day in the sun and they're not useful anymore, it would be a lot better than not being able to do anything at all. Now this next point, I think this is something that should happen. Some people will probably disagree with me, so you're going to have to bear with me on this one. So this one is going to revolve around events, right? And it's specifically going to revolve around bossing, okay? We go into bossing. You can go in just now and you can look at teams. You can look at team comps. That's fine. No issues with that at all. I think that is absolutely fine. You can even see what people have used as assists and stuff like that. And if you want, you can try out those teams, okay? The thing that I don't think you should be able to do, and I think they should actually remove, is while an event boss is live, the replay function should be disabled, okay? Now the reason I say that is because currently the way that the game works is one person essentially will figure out the timing. One person will figure out the ideal team composition. One person will figure out the EX skills that you use when you use them. Literally the frame that you attack on, they can sit there, they can workshop that, and they can really find out what works well, okay? And other people can literally just wait, look at the leaderboard and go, oh, I'm going to copy that. And I mean, copy it to the extent of they will literally press the buttons at the same time as this other person who came up with the strategy for doing it, and they will just beat their score because reasons, right? Maybe they've got slightly more levels or whatever. So the person who has sat there, who has put in the effort, who's put in the work to find the right time and find the right frame to attack on, find when maybe you delay a second, maybe when you go faster, those people essentially don't get rewarded for that discovery, because people are just going to take what they've found and they're just going to do it, maybe with more levels, maybe with more power, and essentially that person can't be rewarded for what they've done. Now, some of you might disagree with that, but the way I see it is, the person who's coming up with the strat, why shouldn't they have a fighting advantage for finding that strat? If they've found out that attacking on 42 seconds rather than attacking on 55 seconds, for example, can give you an extra boost of maybe 2 billion points, that 2 billion points could be enough to make them rank top 3. Whereas if everyone else finds that out, then that advantage that they've gained themselves by understanding the game, understanding the mechanics, understanding how to not manipulate, but take advantage of frames within animation and stuff like that, they're not going to benefit from it because everyone's just going to take it, you know? Now it's different if that player decides, you know what, I found a strat, I'm going to share it, but they don't even get the chance, you know? And there's people out there who might admit to this, but they might not, who actually figure out the strats, they know what they're going to do, and they do not put their score up. They will literally sit until the last little bit, and then they will do their real run, because they know if they do their real run too early, everyone's just going to copy it, okay? So I propose take that away, okay? You can still see what teams the people used, you can still see the teams, but really it would become your responsibility at that point to actually play the game. Play the game, understand, right, if I attack here, I'm going to do a bit more. Maybe if I hold off, I'm going to do a bit more. Maybe if I wait and use this EX move at this point, I'm going to do even better. At that point, the responsibility for the score transfers back to the player, and you've actually got to actively play the game to rank on leaderboards, as honestly it probably should be. Whereas right now, again, if you're a strong player, you can just sit back. You can let other people figure it out. Once they've figured it out, you can just go, okay, when did they attack? 55 seconds. Okay, I'll do that. Team 2, I'll do that. They can literally just copy paste what they did, and if they've got a slightly stronger squad, if they get lucky with crits in certain places, they can take that person's strategy and they can just completely outscore them. So while the boss is live, I don't think there should be a replay button. When you move on to the next boss, if people want to actually then go back and figure out, wait a minute, what did they do? That's fine, because realistically, if you see something a couple of times with different bosses, you'll realise that things don't change all that much. It really tends to be when you attack more than anything. Like, if we're being completely honest, looking for that window of opening when it's best time to attack is probably the biggest thing that people glean from looking at other people's runs. And again, is it fair really that someone who literally could be a free-to-play player sits and discovers this fantastic timing strategy, and then people who are whale spenders, dolphins, just go, I'm stealing that? I've kind of thought for a while that the replay function, it's too open for people just to abuse it and not even bother playing the game themselves anymore. They're just taking other people's ideas. Well, this would alleviate that, and there's a reason I've left this to the end, because I do think that, because deep down people will probably think to themselves, hot damn, if they take that away, I'm going to actually have to think about when I attack. I'm going to have to think about my team builds a bit more. That might put people off, but if you're being honest and we're talking about like actual fairness, I don't really think it's fair that people who come up with strategies should be essentially punished because someone else can just walk in, copy it, and that's it, away they go. Personally, it's happened to me. It's happened to others who would have probably beaten me if it wasn't for the fact that you could just look at their run. I'm guilty of it. I think everyone's guilty of looking at other people's run at some point and thinking, wow, you did better than me, I'm going to do that. Take that away, the game becomes a lot more competitive, and I don't know, some people might have a different point of view, but if it's more competitive, it's probably more fun, you know? So, again, I left this one to the end because it's probably 50, it's probably not even 50-50, it's probably like 80-20, where I reckon more people will disagree because they want to copy, they do, right? But if you're being honest with yourself, do you think that's fair, really? The person who comes up with a strategy, I feel should benefit from the strategy, and if they benefit from the strategy while having a weaker account than someone else, then, you know what, actual thumbs up to that person. But right now, it's not the case, because you ask somebody, what's the best way to beat this boss? People will literally say, look at the leaderboard, see what the top scorers are doing, do that. I mean, that's not even advice. People don't even learn from that. They just copy, and I think it would be better to not have that. So, that's 4 things I think would be great to either add or change about the game. The character growth missiony thing where you can get a secondary passive is honestly something I don't mean passionate about, because will it happen? I doubt it. I mean, if they took an idea that they were given flat out by me, would they use it? I don't know. But would it be good? I think it would. I think it would. You've got a whole bunch of characters, that would be a whole bunch of missions to focus on, it would take a whole lot of time, and characters would get a little sneaky side boost because there's lots of different things you could add. Like Ken, just for talking sake, Trendy Ryu. Trendy Ryu gains X damage bonus when in a team featuring Ken. Now that could be on the support slot or in the team. Ken, same thing, gets more, I don't know, flame damage, soul boost damage, whatever, when he's on a team with Ryu. There's ways that they could work this to make it fit the theme of the characters, but also give them a little bit of extra oomph. Not as much as getting soul power on older units, but at the same time, it might make those units a bit different, a bit more likely to be used in different modes and stuff like that. Because if you've got a unit like the Suggestion Vega, where you get 100% additional damage against a female unit, then you might be like, well, this boss is female, maybe if I use Vega, I'll get more, you know, things like that. I just think it would be pretty good, and it's more than we've got now, put it that way. So rather than just saying, oh my god, you should add something to this coming soon, I thought, here's a suggestion, you know, you've got nothing there just now, you want to add something, how does this sound? Again, let me know what you think, guys. Something different, I would like to see it. And the other suggestions, some of them are a bit of a no-brainer, and I know one of them, the last one, you might not be on board with, but again, if you look within yourself and be honest, is it really fair to just rip off other people's runs when they've sat there, they've workshopped it, it's maybe taken them a long time? I think that could be alleviated by doing away with the replay button while the event's live. But anyway, sound off in the comments down below. Agree, disagree, it's all good. Like the video, dislike the video, it doesn't matter. To the people who love to just dislike my videos as soon as they're uploaded, thank you, because that's engagement and it pushes the video in the YouTube algorithm. So top tip to people, if you don't like a creator, if you actually dislike their video, you're actually helping that creator because it pushes it for engagement. That's a little inside baseball for you there. Anyway, I've been Hayzink, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.